Society, the American College of Radiology have all attested to the fact that climate change is a health emergency. It's the biggest health emergency facing humanity. We need to do our part here in Vermont. So climate change causes innumerable health impacts. The flooding puts people out of their homes, causes mental health impacts. The air pollution from wildfire smoke is linked to neurodegenerative diseases, neurodevelopmental issues in children, poor pregnancy outcomes, exacerbations of COPD, heart failure, other heart and lung diseases. But it's not just the impacts of climate change which are getting worse, and we know that here in Vermont. It's also the impacts of continuing to burn oil and gas. The air pollution and the water pollution from those continued practices also lead to tremendous health impacts. We know now that air pollution is linked to breast cancer. We know that it's linked to lung cancer. We know that particulate matter from burning fossil fuels is linked to all of the diseases that I mentioned in terms of wildfire smoke. And perhaps most impactful is the mental health effects of climate change. Our children tell us that they feel helpless about the future. Our children feel helpless about their future. So it's up to us to remain courageous and do what needs to be done. When I work with patients, I can only do so much in the clinic. I can only do so much in my day-to-day work. When I leave my job at the end of the day, my patients go back out into the world and they confront all of the problems that face them on a day-to-day basis. This problem is huge and it needs policy solutions. So I'm urging our legislators to please keep up the momentum. We need to remain courageous and strong and support S65, oppose H289. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Virginia Clark. I'm a veterinarian, and the only reason they let me join this group of health professionals, I'm the other family doctor, as we call ourselves. I live in Richmond, and what I bring to this coalition is the focus on One Health, which is a discipline that looks at the connection, the web of connections between animal and human health, and there are many. We look at pandemic viruses that occur in displaced animal populations. We have parasites that move with the climate as it moves to naive to new populations of individuals who might be affected. There are problems with the food chain in the ocean, as well as farming on land when long-term weather patterns are changed. Traditional farming techniques no longer work. When there's no plankton populations in the ocean, traditional fisheries collapse. So we're looking at food insecurity, as well as these other health and illness problems when we talk about climate change. So, without intervention in this situation, we find ourselves on an unsustainable path towards hardship and suffering, basically. So, to change the trajectory, we must resolve to continue and to accelerate the progress that we have worked so hard to create in Vermont. I would like to address a problem that is on probably everyone's mind, certainly in my town and my region, which is the complete abdication of any responsibility by our federal government to address this problem. They complain that it's a hoax, that there's nothing that we need to do, that it's not our fault. There is an infuriating amount of denial. So, to me, this makes it super important that at the state level, the individual level, organizational level, we continue to make this momentum happen. What we can do here in Vermont is to keep up the leadership that we've shown and the courage and the vision that we have put forth to actually address this problem, to take it on. So, the policies of the president show complete disdain for the scientific community, for health and medical workers, initiatives all around the world, for just hundreds of thousands of scientific studies that have been done that show this is a real problem. We need to counteract that narrative wherever we can. And in Vermont, we have an opportunity to do that in terms of continuing to support the good progress, the momentum that we've made. The bill H-289, the Global Warming Solutions Act, is a good roadmap. We don't need another plan. We don't need somebody fixing this plan. We need to do the plan. That's what we need to do in this moment when we all have intense anxiety about the state of our country. So I would like to encourage the legislature to continue to think about how we can go forward. So we're recommending not only that we don't go backwards by repealing parts of H-289, but that we make some forward progress. And the bill S-65 is one that's in committee right now that would make some progress in that direction. So we need to stay on this path. We cannot cede our leadership that we have shown in adopting these policies that others are looking at and taking up, and we're joining with others to make the forward progress that we all know needs to be made. Let's do it. We need ambitious goals. Some may think these goals are ambitious, but we need ambitious goals. There was a quotation I read recently from Darren Springer, General Manager of the Burlington Electric Department, which is the first city in the US to achieve 100% renewable energy electricity supply. He said in a recent interview, I quote, "There are always opportunities at the local, state, business, and utility level. Having a really ambitious goal is a critical first step." You need to have that North Star. So let us redouble our efforts to work towards that North Star so we can actually leave our children and our grandchildren a habitable planet. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jael Polskamp. I've been an organic vegetable grower for 16 years, and I also serve on the Climate Council representing the working land sector. So I want you to imagine standing in a field surrounded by 9,000 beautiful, healthy Brussels sprout plants, months of careful planning, hard work, and abundance growing from the soil. But then in a matter of days, relentless rain pounds the earth, drowning the roots, rotting the harvest, and washing away not just my crops, but also my livelihood. This was the reality for many farmers in the summer of 2023, when an otherwise ordinary storm swept through Vermont. It wasn't a hurricane or some historic, once-in-a-lifetime storm. It was another rainstorm. It was just another rainstorm in Vermont. Except now, even normal storms are devastating. My mission has been to grow healthy, nutritious food for my community. I cared for the soil, nurtured biodiversity, and worked in the rhythm with the land. But no amount of careful stewardship can hold back the rising tide of climate change. When extreme weather wipes away farmers' harvests, when climate change fuels extreme storms, small-scale farmers, especially small growers working in harmony with the land, face devastating losses. They lose their incomes and often bear the financial risk alone, with little safety net. When crops fail, local healthy products don't reach markets, and neighbors and families lose access to fresh local food. Rural economies shrink, and small farms go under. Good agricultural jobs disappear, and we risk losing much of what makes Vermont a wonderful place to live. We need to address these vulnerabilities, work to reduce emissions, and set up safeguards now. How we farm, protect our land, and respond to climate change directly impacts the social determinants of health, the conditions that shape how we live, work, and thrive. In my opinion, food is the most essential determinant of all. And it begins with how we protect our environment. If we ignore climate change, if we ignore the climate crisis, the health of our communities will deteriorate. We need a government of compassion, not austerity. We need lawmakers to be forward-thinking and recognize what is at stake. The well-being of Vermonters, of the families, and future generations is on the line. Vermont committed to climate resilience with the Global Warming Solutions Act, a landmark law that holds the state accountable for reducing carbon emissions and protecting communities from climate impacts. This law is critical in ensuring a future where farmers can withstand extreme weather, local food systems remain strong, and we all do our part in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We do not need Bill H-289, which has been introduced in the Vermont House of Representatives and seeks to reverse our climate progress. Repealing our commitment to climate solutions would lead to increased economic instability and a direct threat to the health of every Vermonter who relies on clean air, stable weather, and a secure food system. We cannot let that happen, and we must protect our farms, our food, our future. And that is why I'm here today, calling on legislators to reject this harmful bill and instead focus on building a healthy future for Vermont. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. My name is Dan Quinlan. I'm the chair of the Vermont Climate and Health Alliance, here with my friends and many more who are actually at work, taking care of all of us who would love to be here but can't be here because of their duties. I first of all want to say I can't think of a better place to be standing right now. It's an honor to be in this State House, surrounded by these committed friends from Vermont's medical and health community. I've spent the last 10 years working with health professionals in Vermont and across the country talking about the health threats of climate change. The medical community is unified in its concern about many things here. One threat we all see is the obvious and predicted increase in severe weather events that have been sending people to the hospital here in Vermont and across the nation. People being hurt by storms, children suffering severe respiratory effects from wildfire smoke, older people having heart attacks brought on by heat waves, to name just three of far more severe and far larger set of direct severe health impacts that we're concerned about that some of the other speakers have spoken to. However, there's a second piece of this, and this is what Chael just alluded to. We as public health professionals, I'm going to repeat this again, are concerned about the social determinants of health. These are defined as the conditions and the places where people live, learn, work, and play that affect virtually all health and quality of life outcomes. We all get that, right? This is what we do every day. This is what we do with our kids. This is what makes life happy and fulfills us. All those things. That's a health issue. And when those things go wrong, then we see the direct impacts. And the number one direct impact that we're seeing across the nation is mental health. Mental health is the lead of all of these things, and we have the data to back that up if anybody wants it. And the cost for all of this is rising, and it is accelerating. In 2017, we brought this diagram from the CDC, it's a 10-year-old diagram, about the health impacts of climate change. And what's on this in the middle is the weather effects that we're concerned about, and what's in here is what we worry about in terms of health impacts. So when we first came here, the only thing that was happening was this, which is Lyme's disease. Okay, when we first showed this diagram. This is an old diagram. I just want to reinforce that. We've known about this for a long time. If you come up and look at this diagram after this, you will see every single vector here has been affected, including what Chael just talked about. flooding is now an issue. Heat waves, asthma from respiratory effects, from wildfire smoke. Everyone. It's only been 5 or 6 years. It's here. So we need, in our jobs, to try to get everyone in the state to understand it. In 2023 and 2024, we were slammed with 3 major floods in a period of less than 18 months. The 2024 flooding alone affected 28,000 acres of farmland and caused over $16 million in losses and damages. JL lost her business, as did others. The health community sees firsthand and up close what the stories like hers do to people over time, physically and psychologically. If we don't act with urgency, climate change will radically undermine every social determinant of health across our communities. Similar statements have been adopted by every major professional medical group in the United States, including the AMA, the American Nurses Association, the American Public Health Association, and the American Academy of Pediatrics. Given all that and more, the idea that Governor Phil Scott and the legislature are considering pulling back on a big block of Vermont's existing smart, high-impact, equitable, clean energy and climate legislation is nothing short of staggering. How about we instead focus on how Vermont can benefit economically from some great news? The new clean energy economy is booming across this country, and it will continue to boom despite what the administration, the federal administration, is doing. Instead of blindly backpedaling, we'd like to see the administration support new ideas. For one, is the idea that would require Vermont's energy efficiency utilities to prioritize greenhouse gas emission reductions, which will increase a slew of new money serving services across the communities. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts, and thank you for the team for joining me here. We're ready for questions if anyone has any. Have we stumped everyone? Well, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work that's going on in the State House. Thank you we hope you take this message that we talked about here to your neighbors, your friends, your legislators. It's a big one. We can reverse it. There's a lot of, I could say from my own work, there are all sorts of people coming on board across the country. We need more people to do it. It happens at the grassroots. History shows us that, and we got to get rolling. Thank you.